So awesome. Great to see you guys at home there. I see Mike, Lynette, Teresa. So awesome. Okay, so today, Working with Heart Foundational is what's the big deal about plants? So we're going to explore wraps and some sauces to give some zing to things and tofu. So, and I'm excited. So let's see. Anyone have a chance to look at like eye level in the refrigerator? From last week, we talked about the kitchen, the most important real estate. So were you able to kind of start thinking, okay, what should I put there? Maybe I should rearrange. So awesome. Awesome. So next week, we're going to talk about mastering mindful eating and another key concept that I've seen done in like spa settings where it's just a really cool concept to help you stay on target for your goal, whether your goal is weight loss or weight health and weight maintenance or weight gain. And you don't have to calorie count, no computer needed, logging, that kind of thing. So it's a really easy thing. And we're gonna play a game next week. And we're going to do some soups. And Andrew shared a soup that I'll share next week. I looked at that. That looks delicious. So soups are a really great part of a healthy eating pattern. So we're going to make some soups next week, make one of my favorite ones, and grab chocolate. Anybody like chocolate? Okay, yeah. Good. We're going to make chocolate because, cocoa is a plant, guys. So it's got fiber, it's got polyphenols. It's what we combine with it that sometimes gets us in trouble. So we're going to do that next week. So lots of good stuff for next week. Anybody start reading labels, read some labels, figure out some things there? Okay, see a nodding head and Lynette there at home. So anybody here read some labels? What's that there? Oh, Phil threw out a lot of soup. Oh my goodness. Okay. So I heard.
So my cereal, I was comparing.
Did you hear me, Mike?
This,
Is my mic on?
It's bigger in this one.
Oh, you found some differences. Okay, Barb found some differences in serving size there. Whoa. Okay. Okay. Good.
Definitely.
Teresa, can you hear
sugar
me?
up there in the higher? Yeah. That's great.
More bang for my buck with the other one because it's bigger serving and less sugars, and the other one is smaller serving and more sugars.
That can make a big difference over time. Awesome. Barb's comparing serving size and sugar and things like that, coming up with some good solutions. Yes.
Can you turn off the video, Mike?
Oh, okay.
His name is Tim.
Yeah.
Very
Turn off the video. I want to eat.
cooperative and just say, hey, would you consider re-carrying this item? So the edamame in the little bags.
This is right here, the video.
They got it in big bags, but I have.
Okay. I was going to share with you, Phil. So Phil requested from Hy-Vee. Go ahead, finish sharing.
I haven't done that yet.
Okay.
Go there, then go to Walmart.
Right. Okay.
Just
Yeah. So Phil has, they have in the past. So good to know there, Carl. So, okay. So just to update for those at home, Phil was talking with Tim, who's the Hy-Vee produce, or no, the store manager at the Devil's Glen Hy-Vee, and requesting some edamame specifically so that he could get it there and not have to go to Walmart. So awesome. So great. So, and Carl chimed in that Costco, and I have found Costco. I just never know if they do, because sometimes they rotate their items, but he said, is it this brand or is it a different one? Okay.
2.5 minutes in the microwave.
Okay, 2.5 minutes in the microwave packets from Costco. Awesome. This is the brand my daughter loves. So she requested after last week's battle, she requested I get this one at Walmart. So it's like comes in a box with like 6 of these. So she's already eaten like 3 of them. So, this is a great snack. I mean, if you look at the back, 9 grams of protein, 7 grams of fiber. Oh my goodness, that's going to stick with you. Just 90 calories, 2 grams of fat, no saturated fat, 10 grams of sodium. So you can add a little seasoning if you want, a little of that rice vinegar to help it out a little bit, bring out some of that natural salt flavor. So I love it that you guys, because that is, you know, today we're talking about tofu. So if you don't want to, if you're not ready, don't want to go the tofu route for getting soy in, this is a great way. This is immature soybeans. So I do highly recommend soy. We have actual studies that show soy included in daily actually helps your heart. They did like a special, they call it the portfolio eating kind of pattern where they did with beans, soybeans, what else? Nuts every day with these people, and they dropped their cholesterol. So it was really great. So it's, you know, it's something to definitely consider having regularly in. So awesome. Thank you guys for your sharing. So, okay. So, okay, does anybody remember what the key principles, if you're going to make this sustainable, these lifestyle changes? At the beginning, I shared 4 things that I said were key, no matter what your, you know, health is your goal, but you remember any of them? I'll give you a hint.
I choose.
What's that?
I choose.
I choose. Yes, that was the bonus one. Good one, Barb. I choose instead of I should, I need to, I have to. I choose to eat vegetables, fine foods with fiber, whole foods, that kind of thing. So yes, awesome. Anybody remember anything else? Have fun. So I'm looking for my wine glass. Did I not grab it? I was on my way to grabbing it. I got struck by the box. Yes, open mind so that you're trying out flavors that you never thought before, foods. So I heard a podcast on, I'm not gonna say this wrong, natto. It's from Japan. It's a very different food. I don't know. So I'm gonna keep an open mind. So it's awesome for vitamin K2. It's a new vitamin that's kind of really out there hip. So keep an open mind. You just never know. And tonight we're gonna have an open mind. You don't have to, but I'm gonna ask you consider trying the tofu. Second thing was baby steps. Baby steps. I had a conversation with a lady today that was, she was definitely there was some anxiety underlying her diagnosis of prediabetes, and she wanted to just right now, like, get the menus and everything. And we sat for a moment and talked about the baby steps and just taking the lowest hanging fruit, finding one meal a couple days a week to work on to begin with. But she was getting online. Everyone was giving her all kinds of advice with all these menus and stuff. And I was like, okay, that's fine, well-meaning. But what I see happening here in class, what works is taking baby steps, just integrating, trying things out little by little, because even changing your breakfast 3 times a week is going to have a huge effect over the big picture. So just taking those baby steps. Self-compassion, very important, self-compassion. Did you know that if you berate yourself, that you can actually trigger an internal threat in your body, which means it's the same as an external stress? It's stress. It's seen in your body as a threat when you berate yourself, when you're not compassionate with yourself, you beat yourself up. So very important that you be compassionate. Okay, awesome, guys. So let's see. Let's just go ahead and hop in then to our topic for today, and then we can get going with some other cool things I want to share. What's the big deal about plants? Okay, our phrase for the day, even in this high-tech age, the low-tech plant continues to be the key to nutrition and health. I mean, nothing is going to replace that. We see a lot of buzz in the media, and discoveries of this and that supplement they're testing out, but I'm telling you, we're still never going to give up the whole plant, eating the whole plant. So what does plant-focused eating mean to you? What comes up for you when you hear that plant-focused eating? Yeah, okay, I appreciate the honesty. We are being transparent here, so thank you. So other things.
Gotta eat it before it's spoiled.
Got to eat it before it spoils. Ooh, okay. A couple tricks to help that. Let me share at the end, and I'm sure others can chime in. So that's a great thing. So any other things what plant focus means?
There's no additives.
No additive, Steph says. Thank you. Uh-huh. Yeah. Mother Nature. Okay. Now we usually think of plant-based eating because of the oh, I got ahead. I skipped ahead. Sorry. So let's back up here. So we've got the healthy eating plate. You have a picture of this in your binder. And this is really simple. It's not the prettiest of all the kind of eating plate designs. The Canadian one is pretty spectacular. But this one is so, it encompasses what I want to get across, which is how much is fruit and vegetables in that picture? Half of it, at least half. So a quarter intact grains. I like to call it intact because that means it has the germ, the bran, and the endosperm. Whole grain can get confusing when we use that term. Marketing has kind of abused that. So intact meaning the way Mother Nature made it with the germ, bran, endosperm. Healthy proteins. So those can be animal, but those can be plant-based. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Now, this is a good starting point. Do I think everybody should do this? No. I think there's adjustments, and you'll figure that out for yourself. But this is a good starting point. Also, I do take peas, corn, and potatoes and put them over in whole grain. So if at a meal and having potatoes, that's my whole grain. Okay. So it's not that those are bad. They just have a different effect on your blood sugar. They do have fiber in them, but they're not the same as collards are going to have and kale on your blood sugar. So this is just a general keep variety in there, but go for half vegetables and fruits. You see, I use that word vegetables first, then a quarter intact grains and a quarter healthy proteins. Now, you don't need to do this like every meal. It's not every meal and every snack. I actually recommend you think about 3 or 4 days. If you were to lay out everything that you ate, could we draw a line down the middle and half would be fruits and vegetables and a quarter whole grains and a quarter healthy protein? Are you working your way towards that? That's what you want to work towards. So again, weekends, sometimes we change up our schedule, maybe for a little more nourishing and maybe a little less nourishing. So, again, it's the whole big picture. Okay. So, yes.
Salt. So people say, this is Mediterranean sea salt. Trying to say it's better.
The pink salt, Himalaya, and salt. The question is about salt. So in general, salt is something we want to definitely watch out for. The different salts from a nutrition perspective, they're pretty equivalent. Some of them have some additives and some of them have some extra kind of trace minerals in them, which might be nice, but still they're combined with the salt. So now that's from a strictly nutrition perspective. From culinary perspective, you might have a salt that you prefer, but it's still salt. So there has been some confusion because it's made to think that the pink one is maybe a little healthier, but in your body, it's still going to raise your blood pressure if you abuse it. So yeah. So there are.
And salt identical? Are they the same thing?
Salt is sodium chloride. So it's we usually use that interchangeably, but because salt on the table, salt in your products is sodium chloride, and it's the sodium that we're watching the milligrams. So when you see the milligrams on the product, that is what it is. So it's confusing because we use both terms. We use them interchangeably. They're not exactly the same.
The product is recognized from the same way.
Yes.
Table salt versus sodium in a product. It's still salt.
Yes. Yes, so sodium and salt in a product, for those at home, Barb is asking, is the same. Your body, that's what we're trying to minimize. I don't want to be out the bad guy because today we're going to use a little bit in things. Again, if you're cooking whole food at home and not doing packaged or very minimally packaged, I'm not saying you don't watch your salt, but it's there once was a time we didn't have enough salt. That's what goiter and what we added iodine to salt for. And it used to be used to trade because it was so valuable. So our bodies need it. It's just that it's been used because we've gotten cheap supplies of it in food for different reasons, but mostly because of taste. So the scales have, in a way, tipped where we're having too much. So it's a valuable thing we need to be intaking a little bit from the foods that we intake. Great questions, great questions. So plant-focused diet, these are all different ones here. There's no right or wrong, okay? All of these you can eat super optimally healthy. Some of them we need to watch out for some particular vitamins and minerals. We'll talk about those in a minute. Some people like to identify themselves in an area that kind of gives them, and I hate to use that word rules, but that gives them some rules. Okay, I'm going to avoid cheese or dairy because it's just easier if I then identify myself as a ovo-vegetarian. So I allow eggs, but I don't allow dairy. Okay, so pesco vegetarian allows fish, and then vegetarian. Okay, and then there's vegan, and flexitarian means that you allow some flexibility in there. And technically I would be a flexitarian because my kids eat meat. I don't prepare it, but if they prepare a meal for me, I'm going to eat some. I don't eat a big serving. They always know, let's think of mom. Should we have fish or tofu or something? So, or beans or something for mom, but I'll take a couple bites. So, and the other day I had an event that I sponsored and they had chicken, so I ate. It was delicious. So but it's not something that's a mainstay. Okay, so we think of plants, we think of, oh, they have lots of vitamins and minerals and fiber. I learned this in high school maybe, and it's good for me, but actually I have come to really realize the gems in your plants, whole food plants, is really phytochemicals. Phyto, P-H-Y-T-O, is Greek for plants. And we believe there's between 40 and 50,000 phytochemicals, phytonutrients. You can call them phytochemicals, nutrients. I don't like using the word nutrients, even though a lot of people like that word. It sounds softer than chemicals. Chemicals just mean a bioactive compound. So nutrients means you need it to live, sustain life. And technically you don't need these to live. You need these to live optimally, yes, but not to sustain life. So they are things that, okay, what happens is plants, they're planted in the ground. They're the tiny little seed that we really can't hardly see to begin with. And then with a little sunlight and soil, they grow and they have rainstorms and sun where they can't go inside. I know this sounds ridiculous, but think about it a second. A plant can't run and hide inside into air conditioning or heating. They can't back away from an exhaust or from, the pollution, the smog factor going up. They pests nibbling on their leaves. They have to learn how to defend against that. They can't run and hide. They don't have a bat or a police force to fight off intruders like we do. I know this sounds very simplistic, but I want you to understand that plants over time, they're trying to grow through these seasons so they can grow their fruit, so to speak, whatever that is, their leaves, their fruit, so that they can grow and we can pick them and eat them. And when we pick them and eat them, we get these things that they have over evolutionarily grown to withstand radiation, toxins, pests. Cruciferous vegetables are bitter, correct? Okay. The bitterness in them is thought to be to ward off deer and ants. Okay. If you're a little bitty ant and you take a bite of raw kale on the vine and get that stem, do you think you're taking another bite? I don't think so. Okay. So they have these ingrown things, and they have things like antioxidants and anti-inflammatory that quell the free radicals. When we have damage in our body, we have free radicals, and those free radicals, basically there's an electron that's seeking another electron, and it's going to get in trouble until it finds it. And these antioxidants donate without hurting themselves an electron so that we stabilize those free radicals so they don't cause damage. But there's tons of antioxidants. There's not just one that you need in all the processes in your body. There's over 50. And the more color a fruit or vegetable has, the more antioxidants they have. Okay. And anti-inflammatory oftentimes are in your less colored. In general, there's exceptions to everything I'm saying. Mother Nature didn't kind of sit down and say, this is how I want things to be, but in general. So let me test on you. Cabbage. You've got purple cabbage and you've got what we call green or less colored cabbage. Which one has more antioxidants according to what I just said? Purple has a ton of antioxidants. And purple is the hardest color in our current US food supply to find. So red, purple, cabbage, blueberries, eggplant, those are great ones to get that super purple antioxidant. Now, the other cabbage, the green cabbage, that is higher in anti-inflammatories. It's less an antioxidant. So both of them are good for different reasons. So these are things when we eat them, we get their defense systems. So a carrot has like 400 and apple has 100 that we know of. We might discover more. We only know really well a couple hundred. So, and it's a whole classification. You hear that word polyphenols, that's a class, that's a grouping. Flavonoids is a grouping that has several underneath it. So we get all these protections. Then we get fiber. Fiber doesn't go in animal products. It's only in plant, unless you're a cow. You cannot digest. Let me back up. Fiber is only found in plant products, not in meat, animal, not in fish. But what we get with the fiber goes through our bodies. We don't ever digest it. We don't ever break it down and cross into our bloodstream because we don't have the enzyme to break the fiber. Cows do, but we don't. So you're thinking, well, what in the world is the purpose then of fiber to just go straight through me? Very important purposes. There's a couple, two broad ones. Soluble and insoluble fiber are two classifications. And soluble fiber, if you think of oatmeal, it makes that glunk when you heat it up. In essence, that's what soluble fiber, and all your plants have a combination of both. We tend to name some as better source. Oats are better sources of soluble, but they do have some insoluble. But soluble fiber makes a glunk. The glunk is good for many reasons because it slows down the release of anything in that meal with blood sugar. So it's kind of like a traffic jam, a gunk there that your stomach just has to more slowly. It's not hard, quote unquote. It's the way it's meant to be, a slow release into bloodstream. So you don't need as much insulin. You don't get a spike up and down. Even if you don't have diabetes, if you spike up quickly, if you climb up quickly and then go down, even though you're in the normal range, that feeds inflammation. So we don't want that. We want a more even, slow climb and slow decline. And our energy is going to feel much better. Also, the soluble fiber, when it gets to your large intestine, there's bile, this thing called bile that helps digest fat. Don't need to know any more about it, but it clings on to, there's cholesterol in the bile. And so your body in that soluble fiber clings on to the bile, which has cholesterol, and it pushes it right out the other end of your body. So you excrete it, and then the liver goes, gosh darn, we're low on bile. So let me grab some from my bloodstream. And so your LDL, that's one of the ways your LDL is kept in balance, is by having fiber from whole foods. You grab it from your bloodstream and use it to make some more bile. The insoluble fiber is, it doesn't make the glunk. What it does is it travels along the edges of your small intestine, your large intestine, and kind of cleans it out. So I think, let me see if I have it here. Looks like it got to the other room. Your green SOS pads, you've got a sponge on one side and the SOS pad on the other side. That's like fiber. Soluble fiber is the sponge clinging onto water and making that glump, that glob. The other side is the insoluble fiber that scrapes along your intestines, not in a bad way. It's not making nicks or anything. It actually just keeps things moving so that things that could be toxic and problems are moved along so they don't brew trouble. And also it initiates the muscles to work because it's a peristaltic, a wave action that needs to be stimulated to do its job. If you don't use it, you'll lose it, like the muscles on the outside. So it helps you move along your stool. Okay. So your stool, you should be moving your stool through your body. You should, if you eat today, you should be moving it out the other end every 24 to 36 hours. Some people have stools sitting in their body 5 days. That is not good. Okay. How do you know? It's pretty easy. You eat a bowl of beets and you see when it comes out, because it's going to be bright pink. So beets, bowl of beets. Then you know if you're in that 24 to 36 hour time frame. And we actually have research to link things like breast cancer to your colon health. And so we find that women that are having regular stools moving through, they have lower incidence of breast cancer.
Beets have to be pickled beets or just beets?
Just beets, because that red is gonna, it's gonna show up. So you're gonna be like, I see that.
That tastes good.
Yeah.
What? Oh, beets are fabulous. Oh my goodness, roast beets. Just roast some beets. They're delicious. So yes.
Is that next week?
No. I have done beets. I have done beets in class. I did beets once. It's a little messy. Beets are. So fiber is so important. The other thing that fiber does is it actually is, we humans don't have the digestion for it, but guess what? Your bugs in your large intestine do. I know that sounds bizarre, but 70 to 80% of your immune system is the bugs in your large intestine. And the bugs that you're growing is like a garden. Are you growing a garden that's good for you or a garden that's not good for you? If you have a high sugar diet, I can guarantee you, you're feeding a garden that's not good for you. Your immunity is going to be inhibited when you have a high sugar diet because of the outcome in that large intestine, very much so. So by having diversity and having plant foods, you're feeding your colon. So, okay. So then we know for our heart, we decrease our LDL, like I talked about. Triglyceride, we also see that lowered. Managing blood pressure. Actually, managing blood pressure is like one thing that's under kind of promoted. If you can get your potassium up and get your sodium down, those together have a better effect on your blood pressure than just sodium down alone. And potassium is in fruits and vegetables, in oranges, it's in tomatoes, it's in potatoes. You just get a variety of things, spinach, okay? So it's really a great way to manage blood pressure that everybody just thinks salt. So, which is not bad, but it's really the whole picture. Okay, protein, a lot of people are worried about their protein. Protein, we've got a lot of protein in our sources. I don't know, remember last week, quinoa had a lot of protein. We've got nuts, seeds, beans, things like that really are high in protein. We don't find that people that are eating a whole food diet, that they're having a problem with protein. It's the people that are eating a lot of products, that they're just really not eating a full minimally processed, that they might. But for the most part, if you want to, we can. But I think I forgot to tell you at the end, I'm going to give you a menu using a lot of the recipes we have in the classes. And I only do this for the foundational, but I also make sure there's 20 grams of protein at each meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because our bodies can only at one time absorb between 20 and 30 grams of protein at once. Okay, we can't utilize more. So 20 is kind of the minimum for the females or the more petite individuals, because it really is based on body weight and so how much protein you need. So 20 to 30 grams, you want to get a minimally at 20. You're not going to be I don't worry about this. Okay, I'm not there going, oh, I haven't gotten a lot of, I have variety in my meal. I get a lot of these things we're going to talk about. So it's really not usually a concern. If you're concerned, we can talk more about that. The vitamins and minerals that we do look at, especially if you're vegan, meaning you don't have any dairy, fish, or egg products, then vitamin B12. And vitamin B12 is one of those that we're finding a lot linked to Alzheimer's. So that's something, I do take a B12 supplement, just to kind of, it's like an insurance thing. I asked my doctor about being tested and she's like, oh, just take a supplement. Like, it's not the ideal way, but I get what she was saying. Now, vitamin D, I did get tested because I wanted to know. And vitamin D is a little trickier than B12. Vitamin D, different people respond differently, and most everybody's deficient to some level, a suboptimal to severe deficiency. Because vitamin D, we can't get enough in our diets. We can't. We need sunlight to supplement it above a certain latitude in the equator. And and with winter coming, we're not getting it. Okay. You need to be outside 10 to 15 minutes at a certain time of day. It's not happening right now. So if I take a vitamin D supplement, but I did get my blood tested, I was at 17. You want to be 40 or more now because it's more than bone health now. And I'm up to 38 the last time I was tested. So my doctor gave me a prescription supplement for 6 weeks. You can do that. And then I went off to an over-the-counter. If you do, work with your doctor. I'm working with my doctor on these things. It's not expensive to get a vitamin D blood test. If you do a supplement, always make sure it's USP or USF or NSF, sorry, USP or NSF. Like nature something at Walmart is the line that I get. That's USF tested. That's a third-party testing. If you start getting into kind of like more sports sold supplements, it's usually the NSF. So those are third-party testings, because every time I see a test on supplements, I am not joking, 18 or 19 out of 20 tested don't have like 50% of what they say they have. They're barely having any in, if any, some of them, and they're filling it with other things. That's what makes me worried too, is what else is in there that they're not letting you know on the label, because there's no federal regulation of supplements, and there never will be, because there's so many billions of dollars made with supplements. So calcium might be a concern. Vitamin D and calcium are your bone health. And actually vitamin K2 is a new one that we're finding research about. I'm trying to learn more about that, but that's on the horizon. And iron is another thing that we watch out for. Some people can be too much iron, okay? And some men in particular, they grab on too much heme iron. So you need to check that with the doctor. And then some people, when they're tired or menstrual cycles, they're getting on the low side of iron deficiency.
You said USP, NSF?
Yes.
That's what I just got.
Not NF. I'm pretty sure it's NSF.
Kind of special.
No, this is like a sports one. So, and there might be others, but double check they are actually outside the company, third party paid, because there's a lot of money in the pocket to be made with supplements. A lot, guys, a lot. So there are some companies like Fullscript that are very good. You're going to have to pay more. Okay. So the supplements I take are not always the cheapest. Okay. So got to be careful about that. Organic versus conventional. There's a lot of questions on this. This is complicated, guys. Okay. First of all, a lot of times these lists are used, I feel, to capture headlines. Okay. So I don't want people to look at the Dirty Dozen and go, I should never have strawberries that are conventionally grown. I have them all the time, guys. Okay. Now, if I had a ton of money, I would get organic. But first of all, you can't even get organic all year round. And it is a significant price change. And organic is not as clear cut as you think. I'm not saying anything to disrupt anybody who's organic farmer, but to qualify as organic, you actually usually there's a first layer of some pesticides that are put on the crop. So, and there's other problems that we're talking about when we're talking about what we're trying to get across with this. There's aerating the soil so that we have good soil and things like that. It's not just a matter of going clean 15 Dirty Dozen, and know that the Dirty Dozen are far lower than any EPA standard. I mean, they're not going over the limit by any means. So according to EPA, they're okay. Now, do I trust the EPA 100%? No. Europe is actually more strict than we are. Okay. You draw your own conclusions on that. Okay. So we do have some, nutritionists and doctors that are trying to keep on top of what ones we should be watching out for. But I will let you know, if you go to Europe and eat there for a summer and eat whole food, you will notice a difference versus the whole food here. And that is because of some of what is allowed to be imported here. And actually a lot of countries in Europe, France in particular, where I spent some time, they grow stuff, but they don't export it. They use it for themselves. And they have strict laws about growing, and they grow in season. If you go to France, you are not finding strawberries in the winter at all, no matter how much you pay, because they're not shipping them from Chile, Mexico, okay? I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying there's other considerations than just looking at this nice little chart. You know, did they test all the strawberries across the US? No. Okay. I just want you to be careful, because I had a family member that years ago heard this on Dr. Oz, and they said, oh, well, then I don't need to be eating fruits and vegetables. Oh, no way. Okay. When you eat fruits and vegetables, even with pesticides, you're going to be far better off than somebody who's eating box things that are ultra processed. There is just no comparison. To me, that's like comparing a barge full of nutrition to a Fiat. Okay, and I say a Fiat because I have memories of my family car growing up taped together with duct tape. It was a Fiat. So I'm just saying it barely held together. And that's what we're comparing. It's just, there's no comparison eating fruits and vegetables to not. So don't let this deter you. You know, farmers market is where I would put my money. Locally grown farmers market. But the challenge there is finding the time to go down to the farmers market. We do have some beautiful farmers market. I do prefer Rock Islands over Davenport. I used to do Davenport, but Davenport, then I get distracted by all the other stuff there. It's not your old-fashioned farmers market anymore. And I love that they're attracting other people down to that, but I just don't see them. Sometimes I have trouble finding the fruits and vegetables in there. Okay, just saying. So the Rock Island one is very small, and there are strict guidelines about a vendor that can be in the Rock Island. I don't know if you know that. And these are people that some of them given up their day jobs as insurance or financial people that now are growing their own things. They're baking their own bread in Rock Island. So,
What's the difference between
the two? Okay, sorry, Phil. So Dirty Dozen is a list of the highest pesticide content for fruits and vegetables out of the ones this self-done. It's an organization that's trying to. It's not a profit mongering company that does this. I know they're well intentioned, but I also have looked at the pros and cons of promoting these lists. And there's a lot of damage in promoting these lists from people that we have a problem with people not eating enough fruits and vegetables. Okay. So that's the first thing we need to do. Then, once we start getting people eating more fruits and vegetables, then maybe we'll get different commodities going on that are subsidized. And then we'll get different things in the, schools, showing up on the menus instead of big cinnamon muffins that are considered the lunch. Okay. So it's very complicated. And the Clean 15 are supposedly the ones that have the least amount.
bananas either?
Well, they're doing 15. They call them the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen. So they probably just didn't make the list on those. The bugs love. Okay. Andrew says the bugs love strawberries.
We had
Pre-patch.
Yeah.
I practically had to put a screen
We
over
did?
the top. We did, yeah.
Okay,
So we had
so-
to fight the slugs and,
So I get it.
yeah, that's why they just coat them with all kinds of stuff.
washing
Just keep it alive.
Make a difference with the pesticides, or is
Washing-
it because it grew and absorbed it internally then?
Yeah, well, this is a hard thing. We don't know all the effect of pesticides. We just don't. And we probably will never fully know. We're looking at some of them, the one with the G, but still the research is hard to come by because some people don't want us to know. So washing will help with water. Okay, here's the thing. We don't have tests showing the soap. I'm not saying the soap's bad, but I've read, with these tests that are done, they're done with just washing. Getting water will get a lot just off. It's not going to fully make it pesticide free, but that's the first start. So yes, so that is good. And always, even if like a lemon, always rinse the lemons, even if you're squeezing it, you just cross-contamination, all that kind of stuff. So it's always just a good habit. Yeah,
So I always wash it, my salad or my.
that's
or
very good
whatever.
too.
I just didn't know if it was a valuable step.
It is. And sometimes you can get like a black tub like we have here and swish around the veggies in the black tub.
Just
So-
watch somebody at the grocery store picking their nose and picking up apples and
Yeah.
then putting it down. I mean,
Yeah.
that throws you out.
Thank you, Andrew, for that picture.
People are froze.
Yes, so, yeah, no, you want to. There's a lot of potential for cross-contamination there, so. Okay,
Okay. Yeah, so go ahead.
okay. Moving on. Okay, so how do we get in more plants? So, kind of the last little bit that I want to share here, and I want to really emphasize the taste, the smell, the color, all those things are part of the protection of the plant. It really is amazing when you start digging into all this. So the strategies, I have 6 different strategies here to share about plants. So these are some of these you've heard before. Treating the animal protein as a side dish rather than the main dish. So that goes, a lot of times you'll say, what's for dinner? Chicken, meatloaf. Why don't we start saying apple Dijon kale salad or pesto? Okay, things that capitalize on plants, bruschetta. So what is it that you could focus on and write on the menu that you're getting used to seeing plants on the menu? So, and it doesn't mean, again, no, I'm not saying no animal. So, but shrinking down the animal and focusing more on the plant and getting excited about the plant. So we talked about this last week, those different zones in your kitchen. Do you have ingredients so that you could add to and spice up a dish with more plants and seasonings and herbs that you'd like, or to make something? Do you have those ingredients? Because if you don't have them on hand, you're not going to be able to make it. So, having the beans, having the seasonings, having the spices already combined together. But you have a list from last week that has a lot of different things that are possibilities that will make it easier. Nutritional yeast we've talked about. Today we're going to talk about seaweed. So these are things that you may not have had in your refrigerator or pantry before. Edamame. But these are things that will make it easier than to make healthy meals and eat healthy snacks. Okay, veganizing your favorite foods. So that is adding more veggies, bulking things up with more vegetables. That is an easy way. When I had that conversation with that lady on the phone, I was trying to encourage her. There's ways you can just change what you're already eating to make it healthier and still delicious. And you don't have to scratch everything you've been doing. So you just add more vegetables. So what can we add to chili so that we add more vegetables or plants? What? More beans. Yeah. And shrink down some of the meat. I didn't say you had to do without. So mushrooms, there's different things that you can add in there. So shredded carrots, I have seen chili in before. So, adding today, we're going to talk about tofu, edamame, adding, chopped mushrooms. You can chop up mushrooms, even grind them in a blender, and it's almost like raw ground meat in a way. When you do that, you do need to add spices and seasoning. So stir fry, going down on the chicken and the beef and going up on some other things. Nutritional yeast is something too that you can substitute in here and there for some maybe Parmesan cheese or just add in. It's not cheese, so I don't want you to think this is a straight swap for cheese, but you can start adding it in places and not even know. The other day I made roasted potatoes with rosemary. I did small potatoes because I've started going that way, because if you have a smaller potato, you have more skin, which means a lot of the benefit in a potato is near the skin. The fiber and some of the vitamins and minerals that protect the potato are in the skin. So I chopped those up, a little olive oil, tossed it, fresh rosemary, and then I sprinkled on nutritional yeast on top. Why? because nutritional yeast is packed with fiber, B12, folate, protein, and nobody knew the difference. So, I mean, it changed the flavor a little bit, but nobody said, what was that? It just kind of blended in there. So just start thinking about ways, adding, shredded carrots is very easy. And zoodles, adding those if you got a zucchini. So,
I don't know if I actually eat the vegetables in the food. I have always been one that picks them up. Like, I don't like peas, but I'm eating them. So instead of pushing them off to the side of the plate, I'm actually incorporating them into the bite of the food. So
okay, that's a great way.
It's already there, and
Yeah.
I've chosen not to eat it, and now I'm trying not to.
So having it combined in your dish is what you're saying. So Barb likes her veggies in her dish rather than a separate veggie on the side. So that's great. You find out what works for you. Awesome. So egg alternatives, there's a flax and a chia egg alternative. It increases your fiber and your omega-3s. It's plant omega-3, so it's not the same as fish, but it's still super powerful nutritional. So you can do a 1-to-3 ratio and let it sit for 5 to 10 minutes, but it doesn't work for everything. But let's see, I'm trying to think what we've done it in. I've done it before in the cookies when I ran out of egg, because we have an egg in the cookies in the first class. There are some other, next week at the Heart to Heart, I'll do a chia pudding with pumpkin and milk, and the chia pudding will thicken it. So kind of be like egg. I'm not going to cook it, but so just 1 tablespoon of chia or flax, ground up flax, to 3 tablespoons of water. And you let that sit and it'll thicken, and it'll help thicken whatever you want. It's not exactly like an egg, but just think about it. It can really help. Soya in place of meat, I'll show you that in a second. That's another possibility. Then strategy 4 is just, that meal prep, looking at a day during the week or the weekend that you have time and energy to do some meal prep so that you have the vegetables. They last 3, 4, 5 days often. Most of them do, even washed. So some of them not, but many do. So start figuring out which ones do and how you can prep them. So batch cooking quinoa or brown rice, those sort of things. Just baby steps, guys. Don't think like, oh, there's so many things I'm not doing. No, you take a baby step and just say, hey, I'm going to do this. And that's going to make a huge, huge difference. Roasting veggies in your air fryer, in the oven, batch cooking hummus if you really love hummus. The chia pudding like I'm going to make next week. That's a great, especially with the fall with the pumpkin. Pumpkin has fiber and has vitamin A in it. It'll store for 3 days, the pudding. So, smoothie bags and jars, you can do those, prep ahead and just every day take that and go. So last, or strategy 5, just try and devote 1 meal a week, breakfast, lunch, or dinner, that you're focused on trying to do whole food and plant-based. So it could be breakfast. Of course, there's oats, but smoothies, tofu scramble. My mom went to a bed and breakfast out by Niagara Falls a couple weeks ago. She sent me a picture of a tofu scramble. She said it was the best ever. She said it was scrumptious. So, open mind about that. Chia pudding is, again, you could make a chia pudding for breakfast on the run. For lunch, stir fry with veggies, hummus, lettuce wrap with veggies like we're going to do today, roasted veggies with beans and a salad, a vegetable soup. For dinner, you can do the chili with vegetables, so soya. I'm going to do that in a second. A quinoa stir fry, homemade veggie burgers, things like that. Just, again, slowly finding things. And the goal is not eliminating all animal, guys. That's not my purpose, but we just need to bring in a lot more plant, whole food. Okay, last one is just sneak it in where you can. Again, just starting to think, where can I add it in? Can I add some kale or some spinach in there? And I've started, even one way I've started growing my intake is by chopping up spinach or romaine or cabbage and putting it under things. So just like serving it on there. And I even did like pasta. I had pasta and put it on top of some chopped up romaine, just a little bit. But then when I did my fork and ate it, it was there. I was getting some dark greens. So just start thinking, we haven't thought this way before, but how can we easily get into dark greens? Yes, you could have a side salad, but you can just start adding it as a bottom layer to dishes. So how can you just layer it in and add it in? A lot of times I'll just look and go, oh, I've got that fruit that's about ready to go and this one there. So I'll just cut that up and we'll all have a little bit and split it up, just starting to add it in wherever. So, and that, so think about what your one takeaway is right now. So go ahead and send in the chat what's just one thing. It doesn't have to be a profound thing, but what is one thing that's coming up for you so that we can help remember these things, because I'm covering quite a bit. So those of you that are here, if you want to write on your little sticky there, I'll collect those in a few minutes. So start doing that. We've got the action steps. I do want to share, and I want people to also open up and share about ways that they use their veggies and fruits that are about to go. So Phil brought that up. You feel like, oh my goodness, I bought all these veggies. And the thing is, these are alive things, guys. That's the thing we want to appreciate. Okay. There are products in the store that will never go bad. Okay. In a box. Okay. But produce, it's alive. Okay. I mean, it's, dying and it's going to have a death, so to speak. But that's the beauty of it. So yes, we do want to use it. So tomatoes, especially like cherry tomatoes, I'll get those all the time. And then I'll be like, oh, I've got, 20 there sitting there and they are starting to see little dimples in them. I'll roast them. I'll just throw them in the air fryer and roast them and just add them to whatever that night, or put in the refrigerator. I'll get another day out of them, add them to a dish. But they're delicious roasted. Just throw them in the air fryer. So avocado, if you get another day, actually I got 4 days. We did this test in a previous class because I put the challenge to the class. I said, you can make $1 billion if you can figure out how to make avocados stay longer, okay? Because all these gimmicks only get you like a day. And so one of them shared putting it in with onion. So if you put a airtight container and cut open just like a regular onion. So now I make sure I have always extra onion. I normally do, but now for my avocado, and I have one sitting in my refrigerator at home, but I just slice it open and just put it on top. You don't have to put it facing squished down or anything like that, because the onions have sulfur, and the sulfur helps preserve the avocado. So if you just put an airtight container with it, now it will pick up a little of the onion flavor, but I think that's fine by me for most of my uses for avocado. So, but again, that's just one way. You can use the wholly avocados too, the little ones, but that has saved me a lot, because I love avocado, but I rarely sit there and eat it. I mean, I never eat a whole big normal avocado. So I've got to figure out, now I'm down to just me and my other child. It used to be 4 of us, and that was 5 of us. That was no problem with 4 kids. But now these things are like, oh, what do I do with that? So what are some other ideas of things you can do when it's about to go?
Put it in the blender.
Put it in the blender. Okay. You making a smoothie? You making a soup? Okay. You can freeze it for soup, like spinach. You can freeze that for a smoothie or soup if it's about to go. Once it's gone, you got to toss out the spinach. Other ideas on things that you can do? Eat it. There we go. Andrew's got the best one ever. Yes,
Teresa?
have a feast of whole fruit
Teresa,
and veggies. So if you think of any, share. So, okay. So
Joanne.
tofu. I know you're all dying to know about tofu. So I want to get you guys back here. I think I'm back. I am. Okay, let's let the roses. Oh, it quit. Okay, what happens? Okay, so tofu. So let me get my Sasoya. So and show you some products here. So here's TVP Sasoya. So for many people, tofu is like, oh no, I don't know about that tofu. So that's just too out there for me. So maybe you want to start with Sasoya. Sasoya is, I call it a transition product. It's made in Canada. Unfortunately, you can't get it here, and you have to order about 12 of these at once. It's bulk. It's been a while since I've ordered. They come in like astronaut like packages in here, so they stay quite a while. I don't know, this one we've had for a while. So they won't go bad. But what they are, all they are is soy flour. So, and they kind of like, it's like they extrude it through and make it into these ground looking particles. They've got chicken, you guys, there's this is soya. They've got chicken like nugget looking ones, strips, and they got fajita strips for beef. So this is really good if you're just having trouble like not seeing meat in your dishes. Now these have no flavor. So these work really good with tacos and meatloaf and chili because you've got flavoring in there. You're not going to just want to eat a bowl of this because it has no flavor. So that's a great way to go.
But if you're adding it to like, for like tacos,
Yeah,
you're putting taco seasoning in it. You don't taste the beef per se. So if you were to use a hamburger, you wouldn't necessarily taste the hamburger, you taste the seasoning.
right.
It'd be the same there.
Yeah, exactly. And the texture is very similar. It's really a good product. I don't, it's just in Canada and we just don't have the demand, I guess, here. There are other products on the shelves like Morningstar. What is it? The other one. There's a Beyond Beef. There's another brand, Good something at Walmart. Those are okay. I call them transitional products. I don't want to beat them up, but they are not whole food, minimally processed. Okay. They're plant, meaning they don't have any animal product in them, but they are processed and they're pretty close to ultra, not quite, but maybe, you know, it's a spectrum. So again, if you need to transition and you're just not ready to have chili with no meat, and I'm not saying that's a goal, it's the big picture. But if you want to. Now, my mom, she was diagnosed with her first of 5 cancers when she was 52. She's 82 now. And she lived here. And it was not easy. She went vegetarian then, or vegan. So it was not easy, you know, going out with friends and having people over. So she would get in the habit of making two dishes, the same dish, but one, the vegetarian one, the normal meat. So she'd do things like chilies and tacos and enchilada casseroles and things like that. Well, guess what? They were all vegetarian. She just called one the meat one and one the vegetarian one because she used those products like Morningstar and stuff like that. So they are higher in salt and additives and things like that. But again, they're a good transitional product to use. So the Sasoya doesn't have the salt and the additives. So I like the Sasoya. TVP is textured vegetable protein. It looks kind of, I don't know, what does that look like? Tell me what it looks like, guys. I'll pass it around. You guys can see that. It's kind of, it's a vanilla-ish looking flaky. But what it's again, it's soy flour, no flavoring. So you reconstitute it and add flavoring to it. Europe has it all over the place. When I studied like 30 years ago in Europe, they had it at the regular store. It was just all over. In Europe, there's some things that they do a little more than us. You have to special order the TVP. It stands for textured vegetable protein. It's soy so based. It doesn't have the sodium and the seasonings. It is, you know, something that you've got to make a commitment to getting used to and adding to foods and figuring out new recipes for. But that's an option. Okay. So I'm going to show you tofu, which might be a little easier. Tofu is made from, let me read the ingredient list. Tofu is made from, first ingredient is water, then soybeans, then calcium sulfate and calcium chloride. The calcium sulfate and calcium chloride, they are just enzymes to coagulate the soybeans. This is essentially coagulated soy milk in a brick. What else do you know that's coagulated milk in a brick? Cheese. So cheese, tofu, cousins, maybe? Maybe. Somebody told me in class, they're like, the less liked cousin. So
Be the milk you left in the
Fridge too long.
Okay, so tofu is kind of bland looking, ugly. The texture is bizarre if you're not used to it. But it's minimally processed, guys. It's basically got two ingredients, water and soybeans and enzyme. That's it. It's minimally processed. It's got fiber, protein. It's only got 10 milligrams of sodium, okay? It's got other things, those phytochemicals that we know are very good for you, okay? But we're not used to this. I am used to this thanks to my mother-in-law, who passed away on Monday. She was 94. So she is a 65-year plus wife of a missionary Seventh-day Adventist minister. So what that means is, and she's Filipino, grew up in the Philippines, the oldest daughter of 8 kids. So you can imagine her life. She had to drop out of middle school to go home and sew for her family to make a living. When she got married, their first missionary location was, now this is 60 years ago, guys, was remote Laos, 60 years ago. Can you imagine being in remote Laos doing missionary work? So she is amazing. I've seen her make raisins from grapes. She had the mats out and we're drying them. She knows how to make tofu from scratch. She knows how to make gluten balls. Seventh-day Adventist is vegetarian and they're very close to vegan, I would say. I don't see cheese and I hardly see them eat chocolate. I've seen her occasionally eat ice cream. And she doesn't eat fish. She's from the Philippines. Amazing. So that's like the fish capital of the world. But it's a choice from her beliefs of wellness in the body. That's the beliefs is taking care of the body as a temple. So from knowing her, she probably made tofu 5+ times a week at least. So I learned, and my kids have known tofu. They eat it like gangbusters. When my son was home, I'd make 2 and 3 bricks of this a week because he would go through it. Now he loves Cane's and Chick-fil-A and those places, but he's very familiar with tofu. So, and he's actually learned how to make it because he's now in an apartment on a budget, his own food budget in Iowa State. So I won't tell you the other things he's eating, but it's about being familiar with it and understanding it, really, I believe. So it's a wonderful food once you understand it, and there's all kinds of varieties and things you can do. I want to make you comfortable with it. So a couple things first. When you open it up, there's water in it. So you take the brick out, and you take out the water. And can you guys see? Okay, let me get you guys so you can see there a little bit more. So I could probably change the camera. Why don't I do that? Let me change the cameras here. So I see we've got a chat. I want to catch you guys at home. So have you asked local grocery stores to Sasoya? I have not. And, it is, Lynette, that's a great point. And it's really, if we want to get together, there are certain stores in the area that seem a little more open. You found one, Phil. I won't mention any others, but I've, had conversations and not seen changes and it's about demand. A lot of it is demand. So it would be wonderful to have that here. And I do wish dietitians in this area would teach people a little bit more about tofu, because there's another tofu that's very economical, that's very hard to find in our grocery stores. So very good point there. So let me change here so you can see what I'm doing with the tofu. So it's not hard, guys. I just want you to be comfortable. So, and I want to show you what I do at home, because I do, no joke, 1 to 2 bricks a week of the tofu now. It's just so easy. It's economical. 1 brick is around $2. So, so there's water still in here. Remember, water was the top ingredient. So we need to get water out so that we can put flavoring in. And when you see the different types, you see soft, firm, extra firm, maybe extra firm. The difference is just the water, how long it's coagulated, how much water is in it. The soft has the most water, the extra firm the least. So usually I grab for the extra firm. If they don't have any extra firm, I grab the firm. I don't see a huge difference. I don't usually get soft. Soft is just a little too much water. So, but we need to get the water out. So when you read online, usually what they say is to take a dish rag, wrap the brick, and put some dishes on top, put a baking pan and put dishes on top and let it sit for half an hour. Well, guess what? My 21-year-old daughter, I don't know, she read it online, but I saw her doing this. And I was like, that's brilliant. So what you do is you cut it into, because normally you're either going to use strips or cubes. So you're going to do like meatloaf. I just do 8, half. I do 8. So I'm not going to serve this. Let me get my gloves on though to show you though. So I cut it up, and let me get my gloves on. If my hands are wet, I can never get these on. So.
Got refrigerated.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So if you use half of it, just put it in a container with water, an airtight container with water. So, because you might just use half. But the thing is, the reason why I make 1 to 2 bricks a week is when I do whatever I do, saute it or marinate it and then air fry it, it lasts easily 2 weeks, guys.
What
Okay.
fungus is that?
This is, I believe I got extra firm for all of them. So they're all the red. When I just had the container, I set it over here. So this is, extra firm. So, but my daughter, I found her doing this and I was like, oh my goodness. So dishcloth, I can't use this here. That's why I'm not going to serve you. But this is what I do at home. So I just lay this out. So I'll lay out the other 8 if I'm doing another one. Put a dishcloth over. I put usually the baking, if I do 2 bricks, I put a baking sheet. If I just have 1, I put a cutting board. And then I go into the cupboard and I get my dishes. And I put my dishes on top. And let it sit for half an hour. What am I doing? Squeezing the water. And it's better than doing the brick all at once, because when the brick's all at once, you've got this, it's going like this.
More surface area.
Yes. So, and you can go longer, but half an hour is the standard. You're going to see online the standard for a recipe that you're going to get, but you can go thinner. If you were going to make it for a substitute of a sandwich, I would probably even go a little longer because you want to thin. So you want to get out more water. So let me be careful here with my dishes. I don't think I can get that back up there so cleverly. So you take the water out. Oh, that doesn't go up there. This goes up there. And then you can put your flavoring in. Just kind of like meat, you're going to marinate it. So now I do this in plastic bags here because it works the best here. At home, I have my dish, I do 2 bricks, and I have my dish that I just, an 8x8 that I usually do 1 brick. So I put I'll take these that are the water's taken out, and I'll put them in my 8x8, and then I'll put my marinade over it, and I can leave it on the counter. The cool thing, this is a plant, guys. So if on Sunday when I'm doing this, I'll just leave it on the counter for flip it a couple times as I'm doing things. You can put it in the refrigerator if you're doing it like all day while you're at work, but I'm just saying, guys, the cool thing is it's plant. You don't need to worry about salmonella and stuff like that.
That's soybeans and water.
That's it. Yep, with the coagulation. And then this tofu actually is high in calcium too, because of that enzyme. Now, the other tofu that I also do work with is the silken. It's made 99.9% of the time in the U.S. by Morinu. I can't find this at Walmart, and Hy-Vee is hit or miss, and nobody ever knows where they keep this because does not need to be refrigerated. Okay.
Doesn't.
No, this one does not. So, and it says silken there. I call it silken Japanese. Okay. If you start reading about it, you'll see those terms. This is used a lot in Japanese culture. This is also, but it's just kind of gotten that token name for it, but silken because, and I don't have any here. It's actually, it's like slippery silken. It's actually, it looks silkier than this is kind of character-ish looking, you know, whereas this truly is like you could slip and slide, it looks like. And it has a higher water content, and a different enzyme is used to coagulate it. It's called glucodelta-lactone. It doesn't have as much calcium. That's the only downside. Everything else, it's still got fiber, protein, all that kind of stuff. This I do not use for like what we're doing tonight. I use this for, it's beautiful for thickening things up that you blenderize. So it's going to be perfect for puddings, dips, smoothies. It's a really easy way to add a little bit to a smoothie for protein and fiber. It will thicken it up like you wouldn't believe. It doesn't have flavor, so you got to make sure you have flavor in there. When I used to back in the 90s, okay, I used to do a lot of non-fat cooking and low-fat cooking, and I make cheesecakes with this. I don't do that anymore. I don't do baking anymore. I'm just like, it's not the best way to be using my time. So, but this is great for making cheesecakes, things like that. So I also use it. There's one soup recipe I use. You could use these, but there's one soup recipe I like to just crumble this up in that has some noodles and spinach and things like that in it. So
that thing at the end that you're going to give us some of those recipes.
I don't have any recipes with this one. No, I don't. And next week I don't. So for those soups, good point. But you will see this come up. I did have at one point a pudding, a chocolate pudding that I used this in. I took that out because I think this is most people, this is enough here of tofu. So, but it is great. It is. And this year I had a fun workshop I did in chocolate in February. And because that's Heart Month and it's also Valentine's. And we organized it so that everybody who participated got a gift bag with all the ingredients to make the chocolate pudding. So, and we did it as a virtual learning workshop where everybody in their kitchen made it alongside with me. It was a lot of fun. So just keep an open eye for that. Just saying. So those are some things when you start reading about tofu, you're going to start learning about. Now, when you cook tofu, it's like meat in that you find the texture you like. Do you like it with a little bit of softness in the center, or do you like it really crispy on the outside, or just a light crispiness on the outside? That's going to determine marinade, how long, how much, and if you saute it versus bake it versus air fry. They're all a little different textured. You can get the hardest outside, and we're not going to do frying, guys, okay? So frying is going to give you a real quick good fry. It's going to give you a very hard outside. But you can also get very much like that from the oven if you toss it in cornstarch first. Technically, arrow works very much like cornstarch, but cornstarch will take off some of that moisture and just really, if you want rock hard, bounce it off the counter kind of, then I would do like a tablespoon for one brick tossing in and then baking it. So today I've given we're going to do 2 ways. This one here is the Veggie Bolt marinade. And for this one, I'm using the coconut liquid aminos. Okay, so Andrew, you were talking about soy sauce. So this is our quote unquote substitute for soy sauce. Now, coconut liquid aminos, when you're going to start getting dazzled when you go to the shelf, Bragg's seems to be the only one that we're getting around here. We used to get Coconut Secret brand. I like that one better. It's blue, but the only Hy-Vee has it, but they make it into these. They've already got pre-added things to it, so it's not good. So there's coconut liquid aminos, and then there's liquid aminos minus the coconut. Both are tons lower than soy sauce, but the lowest is the coconut liquid aminos. This is about half again as the liquid aminos. Okay, I'm not sure of the processing, what the process difference is, but this is the lowest that you're going to find around here. It has 1 teaspoon, 140 milligrams. Okay, so you're going to be closer to 900 with regular soy sauce and 500 with reduced sodium. Okay, so reduced sodium is not going to be low enough to use. So we're going to use this in there. I've got a little bit of sesame oil. Toasted sesame oil is nice. It just adds, sesame oil is not as healthy quality as extra virgin olive oil, but it is in the upper half of oils that I like. But really the reason I add it mostly is for the flavor. It's a nice, just a little bit gives it that little Asian hint of flavor. Then garlic powder, ginger powder, and sweet chili paste. We're using that in 2 recipes tonight. So you don't have to go to the Asian store. You can if you want to. They have a whole bunch of different sweet chili sauces. This is just one that I use in both. Anything that has like garlic and a little sweet and thickened, that's what we're looking for here. We're using just a little bit of that to give some complex flavor to it. It does sweeten it some too. So that's pretty much it. I think rice vinegar is one of your mildest vinegars. And then I made these into cubes, okay? And I just worked it through, and you can see most of the marinade, it's not very much marinade, soaked it up. And you can eat this just as is. You don't need to cook it. I know you might be like, no way. So yes, it's safe, guys. It's not like eating raw fish or raw meat, okay? This is perfectly safe. You don't have to. If you like this idea, but you're like, I just don't think I can add it raw, Teresa, you can cook this up. You can just saute it and turn it and turn it and turn it, get it a little browned, okay? That will work too. So, but I just want you to know it's okay. There was a restaurant, Freshie, over by Betplex. It went out of business. I don't go out to eat that often, so I wasn't helping them. But they had tofu on their menu. They actually had grass-fed beef too, but they had tofu. And I talked to the chef there, and they steamed it. They never even baked it, fried it, or anything. They just steamed it. It was like, wow, it was magnificent, this Buddha bowl thing that I got. So just keeping your eyes open to this. You can throw this into a salad, into a bowl. You can just eat it on the side. So that's something that we'll have tonight to try. So the other one is a honey, or it has honey in it, spicy barbecue. So I did a double batch tonight. So it's just a homemade kind of barbecue sauce, because I only do that because it's the most, it's most likely for people who have never been introduced to tofu to accept. So you don't have to, if you want to find another marinade to do it with, that's perfectly fine. This does have honey, but I have the same amount of also vinegar in there, the apple cider vinegar. That doesn't make the honey magically null, but it does help a lot when you have vinegar. It does blunt about 20% of the sugar in there. So the spike to the blood sugar is not going to be the same. Plus, this is a marinade, and as you can see, it's not, you're not going to, all of it is going to be absorbed into it. I have had classmates that have taken the marinade and then cooked this and thickened it up and then poured it over the top. Brilliant. Okay, this marinade you can keep, okay? It's not like, you know, contaminated raw beef kind of thing. This is okay to reuse. So we're just going to saute that. At home, usually I do air frying, 10 minutes at like 380 to 400, and then flip it 10 minutes. I do it on Sundays, and I can just flip it. And then when I come back an hour later, I can just flip it and do the other 10 minutes. It's really convenient. And that will give it a kind of a little bit of a crispiness on the outside. So we're going to saute it tonight. Let's see, jalapeno, I added that to it just real quickly. Yes, we are running out of time. You flatten that, you scoop out the seeds with a spoon, flatten that, and then chop that up and add that in. That's optional. So that is the tofu. We're going to cook that in a few minutes. Right now, what I want to do is get to the Collard wrap. So the Collard wrap is a cruciferous vegetable. I've got 2 of the Collard wraps here. And they can get really big. Sometimes when I get bunches, they're like elephant ear size. They are robust, kind of like in that kale area. So we need to get them a little milder, and we need to be able to roll them for a wrap, because they're not going to really roll real nicely. So what we're going to do is we're going to blanch it. We're going to blanch it in just like an inch of water there, 30 seconds, and then dip it into some cold water, or ice cold water preferably. To stop the cooking. Blanching will soften the leaves some. It will also, let me get my rice going. I want to get rice going for the salmon sushi. So let me get that going too while I think of it. So blanching destroys the enzymes that are going to break down the plant. So chefs do blanching a lot earlier in the day with their vegetables because it just lightly cooks them and then stops. And then they can just real quickly, lightly heat them up and serve them. So when it comes dinner time. So it also will take down some of the bitterness, and it will make it brighter, prettier green, and we can roll it. We do want to get rid of some of the spine for the rolling, so I'm chopping that off. And here is, on the back side is where we've got that bump of the spine there. You can take a paring knife. You'll see instructions where they take a paring knife and trim that off. I like to just go and break the spine. Now it's starting to get pliable, so I can roll it. So that's all you need to do. And then we're going to blanch it, and then we have wraps. So here are some wraps that I've already done. So ahead, so those that are at home, you can see here's the pretty bright green. See how that is? And this is easy to wrap. So let me keep this here. So we're going to make the hoisin-like sauce, peanut sauce. I call it hoisin-like because I used to have hoisin in this, but hoisin sauce is so high in sodium. It's got a great complex flavor, but it's so high. Even like the lowest one is so high. I finally said, let me just figure out something else. So, okay, my brown rice. I've got my brown rice here.
Peanut sauce?
You? Yes, are you allergic to peanuts?
No.
Oh, yes, we're gonna have peanuts. So I'm adding my Success brown rice. It's 1 cup of raw to 1 cup, and this is parboiled rice. So Minute Maid rice. So it's been pre-cooked a little and then stopped. That's why it's a 1-to-1 ratio. If it was truthfully raw rice, brown rice, it would be a 1-to-3 ratio. But this shortens the cooking time by a lot. I can cook it in 12 minutes versus 35 to 45. So there we go. Our rice is cooking, and we were in the middle. Let's see, we're doing the hoisin-like sauce. So I'm going to make 4 times this recipe. I usually make about 4 times the recipe and put it in a squeeze bottle or one of these little mason jars. I'll make it with the lid on, and then I'll just shake it when I put it in the refrigerator and shake it up before I use it. So it's really convenient. So we're going to add just regular peanut butter. And then I'm adding some of that coconut aminos. And I'm adding some of my favorite spice, smoked paprika. That gives it a nice flavor. A little bit of honey or molasses we're trying to give it that hoisin-like flavor. Molasses is kind of nice to do too. And then a little bit of the Thai chili sauce. And then some ginger. And I did fresh here. I want you to, a few things about ginger. Here's the ginger. I have found you can peel it with a peeler. Okay, you can break off whatever you want in the grocery store. You don't have to take whatever's like there in the bin. You can break off and you'll just pay by weight. I'll break off a lot of times the little pieces, stubs going out, but you can use a spoon to just bring it down and peel it back. You could use a peeler too, but the spoon almost works better, especially going around the bumps there. And then you take it over a fine grater. So where is mine? Mine is here. So just go over this and you get your fresh ginger. Now you can freeze this because you're like, oh, Teresa, I just use it from one recipe. What do I do with the rest? You need to peel it all and then freeze it. And then you can take out the frozen and you can use it right away. But if you freeze it with the peel on, then you got to let it thaw completely peel it, then do this. Okay, so most people will freeze it, not minced, grated down. So just a trick there. The spoon tends to work the best. So it actually works very easily. So then we're going to add some water to thin it out. So I got everything. So we're just going to then use a whisk here, get a little workout with our arm. And I find that works pretty good. Not get myself, yay. There we go. Okay, so poison like peanut sauce. So I've got over here my boiling water. So I'm going to take my tube and just drop those in. And I've got my about 30 seconds is what I do in here to just break down those bubbles and a little bit of the enzymes there that are making it kind of go off a little bit. So you can see that bright green that's happening there. And then you just take it out into ice cold water, stop the cooking, and that's it. The cool thing is those Colliard wraps, once you blanch them, they will keep all week. You can just put them in a plastic bag with like parchment between them, and you can just pull them out each day for lunch if you want to, for whatever meal. So we've got our hoisin sauce, so we want to assemble together. Let's see, that's nice. So here we go. So we're going to assemble together. So I've got mint here. You could use basil. I've chopped up some of the carrot sticks there. Let's see. I wanted to show you real quick. Let's see what happened to mine. Here it is. Here it is. So carrot or cucumber. So I peeled this completely, but let's pretend this is peeled, or this could be a chunk of carrot. One thing is you want a workable piece. If you have a carrot that's this long and you cut it in half, this is not workable, okay? You got to get it down to a workable. This is workable for me. So what I mean is I can quickly go down. This is the most dangerous cut because now I roll it and I've got it stable, flat. So, and I can go here and I can roll here, here. Now, if it was longer, like this long, it's going to be hard for me to manipulate. I'm making matchsticks anyway, so there's no reason I need to. I can just do this length. So there we make our matchsticks there. So the cucumber can do the same thing with the carrot stick. Or I want to show you real quick, red pepper. Okay, for red pepper, we pretend that it's a box. Let me get off the tag real quick here. It's so fun to do with your gloves on. Oh, yeah. You really do not want to come off. I do not want to waste red pepper. I never waste red pepper. So, okay. So, box. Got a top and a bottom. So I'm going to chop off top, bottom, stand it up. Now I'm going to open it up on the side. So I'm just going down, opening. I've just cut the side all the way through. Now I'm going to open it up. And now what I need to do is the piffy parts I want to get out. Now it's tempting to go cut, cut, cut. The easiest way really is to just flatten this out and think I'm taking the knife horizontally across. So you just take the knife horizontally across there. Careful, careful. And see how I got the piffy part out really easily. So that way, now I'll get out the seeds normally nicely. Now I've got flat surface that is very easy for me now to do even and quickly do my strip. See how that works, okay? So you can, like when red peppers are on sale, I'll get like 8 of them and then roast them. And I can, in 5 minutes or less, have them all prepared to roast. So it's very, very easy. So I want you to know how to do that. So, okay. So let me get this cleaned up and then let's make a wrap. Let's see. It looks like, how did that Okay, I might be burning our roast. I thought I had it at 4. How did I get up to 8? No wonder. I thought it was 3. Okay. You have been tricking me. Okay. So we're going to do our Colliard wrap. So here's our wrap. So we're first, let me grab some hummus. So I did the store-bought hummus. So we're going to do a little hummus to begin with. You can make this at home, okay? If you make it at home, you're going to have better quality oil and you're going to have less salt and probably a whole better flavor. But we're going to do this for now. So just put down some hummus there. You need to get it more like this. Usually I don't go all the way there. I wasn't paying attention. So I'm going to put down some of my sticks here. Put down some of this. Put down some of this. And if I want to, I can grab some avocado too. Put a little bit of avocado. Anybody getting hungry watching this? There. Let's see, a little mint. And then we're going to finish off with a little bit of my hoisin sauce here. Now I'm going to wrap this. I'm going to wrap here, the ends, here the sides. I probably went a little too full. That happens. So we're going to wrap that in. And let me cut it in half so you can see what this looks like. So there you go. So Colliard wrap. So you put in whatever, matchstick. You don't have to have all these. It's nice to have a little mint or basil. Oh, scallions. I have scallions too that I chopped somewhere here. Oh, it's underneath. That's why. It's hiding. So we could put scallions too. So those people here will have a chance to do that. So yummy, yummy. So that's the hoisin. The hoisin sauce you can use to spice up all different things. I use it all the time. Sometimes I put it over just plain sauteed tofu. So, okay, so salmon sushi bowl, and then we're going to, let's see, wait, we've got 2 minutes there. So let me start cooking up some tofu. So I can actually, I'll, let me throw together the salmon sushi. I know we're over, so look at your action steps. Let me, oh, yeah, I'm going to show you the cucumber. Tanya's on vacation, so I'm just all disordinate here. She keeps me straight. So, okay. Here is the salmon sushi bowl. So I'm going to get a big bowl to put this in and talk about some of the key ingredients. So this is a really easy recipe. I have taken this on outings with my extended family and even my brother-in-law, who is a dairy farmer child. So he eats lots of milk and meat and all that. He ate this and he ate 2 big servings of it. He loved it. So the brown rice is part of the base. And then we're going to add in our salmon. It's canned salmon. And the canned salmon that I like, there's 3 brands: Safe Catch, Crown Prince, or Wild Planet. The Safe Catch is the one that they test each of the fish for the mercury. So, and I did see at the Hy-Vee on Devil's Glen, they had Safe Catch in the tuna. So that would be the only tuna I would trust because they check each of the tuna for that. So I just fluffed up my salmon here. Crown, I think it's Crown Prince. Let me see. I think I have the name here. Is it here? No, it must be in my other notes. I know it's Crown. I think it's Crown Prince and Wild Planet. So And we're going to add cucumber as an optional. What I did here, instead of peeling the whole thing, some of you may like it peeled, but it's nice to have the peel because there's some fiber there. You can just do some strips there. And so just going to cut this up real quick here. So that gives it a nice color, adds to it. There we go. So we're going to add that in. So here's our rice. I'm going to add the rice. Okay, didn't burn it. Good. Okay. Okay. Yes, I know you're talking to me. Anything on there. Okay, so we're going to add the salmon to this. So you're going to see how this is a complete meal. So we've got the salmon, so we've got that omega-3s in there, our protein. And then we're going to add 2 cups of shredded carrot. And we've got some of our cucumber there. And then our super powerful ingredient is our, see, where is my bowl? Here it is, seaweed. So what I did is I took 12 of these seaweed snacks. You can do 2 full sheets or 12 of these and just crumble them up. They do stick to your fingers. I have snack sheets there for you here to try if you want to just try the seaweed alone. What it does is it adds color, texture, and some flavor. Seaweed snacks are fantastic. They're roasted in a little bit of oil, but it doesn't cling on to them. The total saturated fat is 0 in this whole, if you ate this whole thing, 0. The sodium is in the whole bag, 60 milligrams. The fiber is 2 grams, and the protein is 3 grams. It has a lot of trace minerals like iodine in there. And it's kind of like, it's not exactly a substitute for potato chips, but if you love eating like crunchy something, have an open mind. My daughter actually takes one of these oftentimes in her lunch. So it's a very hip kind of TikTok thing too. It's going around TikTok, seaweed, you know.
Where
So
do you
these,
get it?
what?
Where do you get it?
Any store. You can get it at Walmart or at Hy-Vee. So the sheets or the snack size. So good question. The dressing that I'm making for this is just 3 ingredients. Sriracha, fresh lemon juice, you could use a jar, and some coconut aminos. Oh, I was going to add into the rice a little vinegar and sugar. So I'm going to add that in there. That makes it like sushi. Sushi rice has a little sweetener and vinegar in it. So I'm adding that to give it a little bit of that zing. I already dissolved the sugar in the rice vinegar. So normally I add that to the rice before I add the other ingredients. And then I'll just use this for my sriracha, my coconut aminos. If you like different ratios of this sauce, you can. I've had many people say they love this sauce and they use it on other things. And we're just going to add that there. See how the seaweed just adds a little of that color to it, a little texture. So see what you guys think here with the flavor. So we've got veggie, the carrots and the cucumber. Seaweed is kind of in between. It's a plant. And then we've got the whole grain rice and the salmon for our omega-3s. So super easy. So that's a great dish there. So last thing we're going to do is cook the tofu. And it just takes like 5 minutes to cook this.
So for me, here tofu is minimal in process. I would have guessed the exact opposite.
Yes.
It looks, it comes out of a Play-Doh machine.
Yeah. I hear you.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Right?
There you go.
Yes. And it's getting used to it. It's just being, it's, you know, it hasn't been part of your your kind of environment, your scenery that you grew up with. So it's new. It's like going to another country. So, and it is something that we haven't had. I didn't have it as a kid, but I was introduced to it in my 20s. So, very lucky that way. So, and there's all kinds of things you can do with it. I make spring rolls. My mother-in-law taught me how to make amazing spring rolls. She used to make like 400 she could sit down and make. So, and they were filled with veggies and a little bit of tofu, even smaller squares than what I did here. And she'd roll them up and then we'd freeze them. You freeze them right away. And then you could brush them with olive oil and then bake them. And they're just a wonderful spring roll. Okay, so I've got the pan hot. You saw how I put a little olive oil and then I wiped it down with the paper towel. So I've got that instead of spraying it. You can spray it. It's just, we're going to do that. I prefer, this is what I do at home. So I'm just going to take off some of these because the moisture is going to make it take longer to cook. Is that what? I would do like 2 of them for a serving. You can do 2 to 4. I mean, a serving is a hard thing to know. It depends on how hungry you are, and you want your, kind of like we talked at the beginning, you want your plate to be half fruits and vegetables. And this would be your protein, your quality protein. So a quarter would be.
How's the honey do in the air fryer?
It does fine if I, the trick is to get it sucked in some. So by that marinating. So, well, you're going to see here, we're going to do a little bit because it's going to get blackened. And it always, I've done this multiple times and I've gotten it very black and everybody always finishes it because it's caramelized. It's not burnt. I mean, it's the caramelized.
Tasty that way.
Yes. So, and that I want you to know that, thank you for bringing that up, it is going to blacken. And that is part of the cooking of the honey in there. So,